If there's anyone who has witnessed my journey, you are the best person to be able to describe and even evaluate how I am doing. This life is all, I believe, is all about connections. Connections with loved ones, connection with the divine wisdom, connection with the community, and so on and so forth. Yeah?
I want to take a pause. A slowed down or a pause on purpose and for purpose. And what is that purpose? It's basically reconnecting back to myself. Now, even when they came back for school holidays, they were busy. And I think they were disconnected in terms of appreciating and understanding that they are totally a different child. They are grown up actually, they are adult, Being in Melbourne, was a good catching up for me to realize as a mother, my once upon small girl, they are now a grown up woman with their own aspiration, with their own principles and values, And this is what slowing down helps me to discover.
Excellent source of tranquility and happiness for both of our son. At the last episode, I told Shadi, I have my moments that I needed to reflect. So yeah, Allah granted us those conditions. So alhamdulillah, we cannot but be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all these conditions. These are reminders from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for us to pause, for us to reflect, for us to slow down, for us to disconnect in order to make new connections. So we did make new connections with our children following all those events.
No, I'm not sure whether I was forced to slow down.
Yeah.
Because for me, I think it's a natural response, It's a natural response when you know what is priority to you. And I remember that happened in 2016, that was my second year, and it was my second term as the president of as a president of PPIS, but even then I was quite clear where my priorities stands. This is my son in need of me, and definitely I don't have any clue in terms of what do I have to do, but I know that I have to be with him, nothing would actually take me away. Took me away than just to be with him. And I would say that, I would want to say that he's fortunate and he's lucky to have, someone who, and this is where sometimes you don't know your potentials and your strength, right?
Until you are tested.
Until you are tested, until you are put into a situation. But ask me whether I want to go through that again, I would say that no, we pray to Allah that we won't.
Yeah.
But I think Allah has been quite kind and quite compassionate to us, that Allah give us moments where we actually celebrate, happiness, But Allah also make us taste a bit of struggles, for us to appreciate.
Yeah.
If you're not experiencing struggle, then you will not be able to know the taste of happiness. Right? And that's why, like I said, I have to keep on coming back to, the decisions to actually and going to Melbourne. There's quite a lot of things that I have to give up. Even at the extent of my own financial needs, right? But again, for me, nothing beats for me to put my family as a priority. And at that point of time, it's my grandson, my first grandson. I mean, he needs that alternative caregiving. He needs that alternative emotional support. The fact that he's away from his father, and his mother, as much as Shaza put a lot of effort, to focus on Ilhan, but Shaza also have to study to go to do. But that slowing down, I think, like what you say, it's not about growing stronger, but also to understand each other better, And I without that slowing down, I wouldn't know whether we will have that opportunity, to have a space to have conversation about childhood trauma and parental trauma, because the children were bombarding me in terms of like, Mama, you were not there, you were busy here, you were busy there, but all the time in my motherly lens, I thought I'm always there for them in whatever window or pocket of time that I have, But that is from my lens until the conversation for me to actually see that, and at first it was very painful for them to say that, no, Mama, you were not there. You and Baba were not there. You were always out there in the community, Now that is painful for me to swallow, because no matter how busy we were with the community, but we will always make sure that we go for holiday, we try, to find time to have dinner together, but still, but again, so that's where, if you don't have that space, if you don't create that time to slow down, to connect, we will never be able to understand who we are in their eyes, or who we were in their eyes then.
Yeah.
And I'm glad we had that conversation, and that's why I came back to you, right, and said that, I don't understand. I thought we tried our best, but our best was not good enough.
Yeah, but like, how about you, Baba? Like, when you're not there and Mama went to you, like, how did you feel?
I truly believe that some of the things you don't learn simply through logic and your cognitive aspect of your it's not just logic and thinking. It is life experience, and then you connect the heart and the mind. It's not just of yours, but also of others. And this is where wisdom begets. This is where you understand. I truly believe they will one day understand this. Probably in a different sense when they are in such a situation.
I wish when the time comes, then they will be able to appreciate what it takes to be a parent.
And when we are still alive, if we are still alive, when they have their own grandchildren, I hope this podcast will still be available. And for them,
I told you so.
so and then they would be appreciate. They will appreciate. I'm okay. You and I, we've done our best. At Shada's marriage and at the other children's marriage, I said this. Remember, and I wrote this in Ya Bunayya, that we are not the perfect parents. But never doubt that we have given all out to be the best parents, right? And Allah will be a witness to that. And now it is you have this opportunity to form a family that you think is the ideal, is the supposed to be family, which you may not have enjoyed before. Now Allah gives you this opportunity, so I shall not interfere too much.
Yeah.
You have the opportunity, right?
I-
then you will learn.
Yeah, I just want to share you again in terms of like I think because this is the situation or the experiences that sometimes not all family are fortunate enough to experience, when I like to come back again when I shared about, in Melbourne, because we were not distracted, with so many things. There were opportunities for us to have that conversation with the children, and as a parent, as a mother and as a parent, that's where I learn in terms of, to address back my assumptions that that we have actually done our best for them, you know, and to know in terms of their assessment and their evaluation how we have actually fared as a parents, you know. While it's painful to take it at the first, feedback, you know, but that actually provide us with opportunity to reflect, you know. But also it provide an opportunity to flip the question in terms of, you know, maybe let me tell you what is my parental trauma.
Yeah.
You know, raising 6 children, you know, all at the same time, you know, so that they are able to shift the perspective, you know, while we talk about childhood trauma, but let's flip and look at the parental trauma, because while you are experiencing that childhood trauma, likewise we were experiencing that parental trauma, you know, and how do we actually bridge this understanding, you know, and we become more, like you said, no, more understanding, more humble, and more compassionate towards each other.
And there are many untold stories on our part. We were not able to tell them, right?
Yeah, like why? You have to share us one.
You remember, I mean, financially we were not stable when we started our
Yeah.
family. We are still students. And
How
then
old were you when you got married?
and during that time, doing my master and so on, there were moments when Shada fell ill, Shahid fell ill, and I only had $2 in my pocket. And I was wondering, we just came back, just came back from KL, and then found Shahid unwell, the children unwell. They needed to go to the doctor, and hey, I don't have any. It's just $2. And obviously, subhanAllah, Allah is the provider, and that will always miss. But even then, Norma, you remember, we will always make effort to spend time with the children, going for holidays. And Alhamdulillah, we didn't stay at the $20 hotel. We still managed to bring them to a proper hotel, swim. Yes, we put all attempts. Surely, it's never enough.
Yeah.
It is never enough because children and parents, we tend to compare ourselves with others. You know, especially when we compare the good ones with the
Better ones. Yeah.
not so good ones.
Yeah.
Right? So therefore, there's this guy, these families enjoy this, that part of the parents enjoy that, this particular children enjoy that. Then we look at ourselves. I think that is a problem. Right? And then therefore we need to understand our own capacities, our own, within our own means. But these are all, like mentioned. I truly believe that, inshallah, one day, these children, when they have their own families with different, at the different stages of their family life, they will learn. But what is important is to remind ourselves and our family to remain humble.
Yeah.
To remain humble meaning you must be prepared to learn and listen. And then you discover, oh yeah, now I appreciate better. Our parents, my mom, my father, your mom, your father, they are not educated people. They are not like you and I, or with all the qualifications and so on and so forth. I used to question my parents. I used to question my mom, although she's an ustazah, in some of the behaviors, in some of the decisions that she made. But now I appreciate it. Now I see the wisdom in these people, because of the connection, the spiritual connections to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And therefore wisdom is God-given. Now, Allah grants that wisdom to whomsoever He wishes, not because one is educated, have a lot of money or so whatsoever.
Yeah, and that's why I said the beauty of slowing down, because you have the space and the time to process,
Yes.
to reflect, and to assess, and that's the reason why slowing down, not doing anything, is not a passive activity. Instead, it's very deeply active when you are able to take a step back from reality, process it, and then to be able to return back fully and wholly, wholesome. You know? I think that's something that I think we are very much appreciative. That there are in our family journey. We have chapters or moments of activeness, moments where we slowed down, and we have to actually admit that somehow or other there is the divine interventions, and probably because it's through our dua and our seeking of guidance from Allah, because we always want to do better, and we always want to know what is it that we have left, what is it that we have lacking, and that should be the spirit that we have to bring to ourselves in how we journey this life, because we are all work in process. The humility to know that sometimes, like, just when things is too much, I think you just have to be brave enough to make that decision to slow down. Okay, coming down to slowing down, in terms of our leadership work, whether you in your religious leadership and for myself in my social service leaderships, what does slowing down in terms of leadership, what does slowing down means? What does it look like? What does it sounds like? If it can be smelled, what does it smells like? So maybe this is something that, what does it mean? From your experience, and maybe later on I can also share, like, what is it from my own thoughts of slowing down as leaders?
Leaders' primary responsibility to me, their primary responsibility is not the job or the task or the KPIs. As you go higher in the ladder of leadership, you will do less talking, you'll do less work, but instead you spend more time listening. And this listening is really listening from the people. So I believe that the primary responsibility of a leader, especially when you are higher up on the ladder of leadership, is the people. Spending time to listen to the people. Not to talk and instruct and give orders, but really listen to the people. When people are taken care, the job will be taken care. The task will be taken care. So that slowing down, if can be translated in terms of your work, so you spend less time, less operational micromanaging, less operational tasks, but instead, you spend time in silence and in listening to others. Although listening is not just a passive listening, it can be burdensome. You're carrying other people's stories, aspirations, stories, and so on. But that gives you a moment to reflect. And therefore, help yourself together with your subjects, with your followers, to go through this process of reflecting and contemplating on this stuff. So to me, I always believe that the higher you are on the ladder of leadership, the less operational activities, the less talking you do, but instead, the more listening you do, the more engagement and be with your subjects and your people, and that will put you in a moment that you need to reflect on some of these things.
Yeah. I think if I can add on to that, I think slowing down also means in terms of the readiness to actually give up that position or give up that work, for others to continue your work, to carry on, because slowing down means that besides listening, besides what it looks like, like if I were to say, like, slowing down as a leader looks like you are actually observing, scanning the thing that is happening around you, you know, and knowing when you are ready to actually,
Withdraw,
you know, retreat so that others can actually move forward, you know, because you want to ensure that you are not there to pull them back, you know, but you are there to actually be the what do you call it, the invisible hand, you know, to push them forward, you know.
The wind under the wind under the wing and feather.
The wing can under the wing of the feather, yeah. So in my own experience, I think slowing down, like you said, no, is actually to listen to others, especially those who are also within your leadership circles, you know. And I thought that was very satisfying for me.
Yes.
It was very satisfying, and what you say is true in terms of, for you to be able to do that, it's when you have the humility to appreciate and to confirm, to affirm that others have equally knowledge and expertise, you know, to be able to views and to be able to contribute, you know. And I thought that was very meaningful and very satisfying, fulfilling to me, to be able to operate in an ecosystem whereby as a leader you are able to let go, and to know that others will be able to have the trust that others will be able to carry out, you know.
Sure.
Yeah.
I define humility as the ability to listen, and really that recognition that no one is too small to be insignificant. In this scheme of things, no one is too small to be insignificant. In fact, this earth, this world, if you put it within the greater creation of the universe, you are just so too small, right? And similarly, the mosquitoes, the ants, they are not too small to be insignificant. They all have their roles. So similarly, a humble leader is one who recognizes that no single person in my team is too small to be insignificant. Right? Each has his or her role, and it's up to us to magnify and to really capitalize those roles.
Yeah. And that actually helps us, contribute us, and that helps motivate and contribute to that act or that process of slowing down.
Yeah.
Because you know that there will be always people.
And we are not indispensable.
Yeah, and we are not.
No one is indispensable.
No one is indispensable, you know. Now, having said that, you know, I think usual as a leader, you know, well, we are leader not by titles, but we are leader by responsibility and accountability. And while people say that leadership needs to be earned, we do admit that leadership carries with it power and authority. You know, and that authority can always be questioned, and that authority can always be criticized. You know, and this is where I think slowing down as a leader will also enable you to always have the space to listen to the voices around you, you know. And that what I appreciated, you know, I didn't used to, but I think now I have reached the wisdom to actually pause and listen, because any view would have some truth, any views would have some value. It's just that how you actually relate to it. And as a leader, we will always be called to be accountable to things. We will always be called for problem solving, decision making. And how do we actually balance this call to respond to community needs at the same time finding space for reflections? You know, we always notice that, and sometimes we always ask ourselves, whether we can actually always be able to acquire that balance. So what would our advice be for the young leaders, so that they can prepare themselves not to be burnt out, in their aspirations, in their zealousness, to respond to the community needs. Yeah.
We often say that we need competent leader. And competency is not just simply in terms of skills, in terms of your cognitive ability. Competence will also include, in fact, to me, it is very important. One may call it emotional intelligence, or one may call it spiritual intelligence. But this aspect of competencies, and which includes that humility. Right? And these values can and should be nurtured. So we need to be cognizant that, we need to, the question is, how then do we train young leaders on humility? How do we train young leaders with this resilience? So that's the big question. But we must first recognize that when we talk about competency, we talk about capabilities. It's not just simply skills, the know-how, or the intelligence, the intellectual capacity. But more importantly is that spiritual and emotional competency, which includes being humble, which includes being resilient. But these qualities come together with the conditions. It's not something we go to a workshop and then we leave the workshop being resilient and being humble. We need to be tested. We do not ask to be tested. We do not ask God, give me trials, give me tests. We don't ask that. But when the time comes, when the tests and the trials come, we need to remain positive, and there are always good things that will emerge out of that condition. Yeah. The younger ones need to learn about that. But again, I mentioned, allow yourself to journey on this path. You'll not be able to learn this just within 1 year or 2 years. It's lifetime experience. Children, you remember when we said this to our children about love, how a parent loves the children. And I said, you will not be able to understand it until you become a parent yourself. Now they have become parents. They have their own children. And I'm pretty sure that they learn to appreciate something. But later, as a parent to a teenager, as a parent to a young youth, grandchildren, we will learn. But allow ourselves to walk on that path with humility and really a strong desire to learn in this process.
So, are you saying that to slow down is actually a journey, not an action itself? Not a skill. To slow down is not a skill, it's a journey. Even for you to slow down, you need to go through a journey. Then you know how to slow down.
We will slow down when we are on the journey. If we are not on the journey, we will not be able to appreciate what slowing down means. Right? So like a train moving so fast, then hey, sometimes we need to slow down. Then you appreciate the notion of slowing down, the notion of remain moments of stillness and silence. But if you're not moving like a train, if the train is not moving, then you will not appreciate slowing down. And slowing down is not cease. It's not really stopping down and ceasing from any activities, right? Slowing down is, there are moments in life we need to pause for a while, slow down, and then we continue. So the essence of this slowing down is not about ceasing from activities. It's not about stopping. It's not about the end of our activities, but it is continuing on this path, on this journey, But there are moments on this journey that we need to slow down. Then we appreciate the idea of slowing down. We appreciate the idea of stillness, silence, because we are reflecting on our journey.
Yeah. I think my own personal reflections, I think this is just about sharing, not about telling the young leaders, There is no shortcut to anything.
Yep.
It is always a process. And I think they need to allow themselves to go through this process,
Yes.
What I notice sometimes, young leaders tend to take a fast track, because when you talk about leadership, there are program leaders. When we talk about leadership in our youth time, there are groups that identify as program leaders. There are groups who identify as organization leaders, and then there is group recognized as committee leaders. And I think there's value in terms of being a program leaders, because when program leaders, you are the one that deliver, you are the one involved in planning, educating, Organizational leader will be the strategic, in terms of how you move the organization from one pace to another. And committee leaders in terms of really taking care, about the whole fabric of the community. And all different levels of leadership requires the different kinds of knowledge, skills, and experiences. Even in terms of you're talking about the emotional aspects, resilience, humility, all that, and that would be what I would advise in terms of like go with the process, not to rush,
Yep.
and this is where the humility to know, to realize that even leadership is a process. It's not something that you are given with, and that's why it was. I think you have also often shared. We are quite appreciative that throughout our process, being nurtured and developed as leaders, we come across in our engagement and interaction with experienced leaders who will be able to share with us, their ups and downs, lessons in life, and that's some things that I thought I would encourage the young leaders, to find time and opportunity to meet experienced leaders, to learn, so that, they don't. Everyone will make mistakes in our road to leaderships, but like you said, a Muslim will never commit the same mistakes twice, and that's why there's the saying that, one bitten twice shy, and the third time you cry, So my advice to the young leaders, take it slow, enjoy the journey, and it is not about the destination, it's about, the process of arriving, and always remember the accountability is not only here. I think the most important thing is accountability to the higher beings, And I think this is where I think all of us need to be conscious about,
And also this is where you and I, at this age, is trying to transmit down some of these wisdoms, some of these life reflections.
Yeah.
And Ya Bunayya, the book form and this conversation podcast is an effort to transmit down some of these reflections on life, community, on religion, onto our children, first and foremost. And then to all their peers, their colleagues, the young, aspiring leaders.
Yeah. So our last words for the viewers, basically, slowing down does not mean not doing anything or being passive, but slowing down means doing less for us to have more peace, more purpose, and more present, inshallah. So thank you, Baba, for this conversation. Hopefully after this we will be more conscious, more intentional in our slowing down.
I hope we can keep this podcast until the children get their grandchildren and they will remember some of this conversation.
I mean, inshallah. Right. Okay.
Alhamdulillah. Thank you very much.